Welcome to LearnersPrep. In this session, we will solve some more questions based on the concept of percentage. This is the second session in the concept of percentage. Question number 11. What is the percentage change in a number when it is first decreased by 10% and then increased by 10%? So the options are given as 0%, 2.25% decrease, 2.25% increase, and option D 1% decrease. First of all, let us assume the number as 100. Assume the number as 100. So first transaction is increased by 10%. Sorry, decreased by 10% minus 10%. So this 100 becomes 90. The second transaction is increasing by 10%. This 90 second transaction increases by 10%. So what is the 10% of 90? 10% of 90 is 9. So if we add 9, it becomes 99. So what is the overall change? So 100 is becoming 99. So that is minus 1. So that means 1% decrease. Negative denotes that it is a decrease. So 1% decrease is the overall net change in the percentage. So option D is the right answer. Question number 12. A man spends 70% of his income. His income increases by 25% and his expenditure also increases by 10%. What is the percentage of increase in his savings? So a person will have income and he will spend some money out of the income, that is expenditure. So after spending, he will remain some money, that is savings. So let us assume the income as expenditure as 100, savings as 100. Then income will be 100 into assume the income as 100. He is spending 70%. So that means 70% he is spending. Out of 100 rupees, 70% 70 rupees he is spending. So remaining is savings, that is 30. So according to the question, is income increases by 25%. So income increases by 25%, it becomes 125. And his expenditure also increases by 10%. So expenditure is 70. So what is the 10% of 70? 7. You have to add 7. So it becomes 77. So what is the savings? Income minus expenditure is the savings. So 125 minus 77. So that is 15 minus 7 is 8. 11 minus 7 is 4. So 48 is the savings. So initially it was 30, it has become 48. So what is the difference here? 18 is the difference. 18 is the difference. So 18 is what percentage of 30? So how much percentage is increased in savings? So 18 is increased, that is how much percent in original savings 30. So multiply by 100 since we have to find out the percentage. 6 3s, 6 5s, 6 3s, 6 5s, 5 1s, 5 20s. So the final answer is 60. 60%. So there is a 60% increase in the savings. So these are the short method of solving these questions. Option D is the right answer. In most of the questions in percentage, we have to assume initial value as 100. So that will be the easy way of solving the question. Question number 13. A number is first increased by 20% and then it is further increased by 30%. What is the total increase? So again here, assume the initial number as 100. So the first transaction is increasing by 20%. So it becomes 120. So second transaction is again increasing by 30%. So 30% of 120. So what is the 30%? 120, 30% is 36. 36 is the 30%. So that should be added to 120. So it becomes 156. So initially it was 100, it became 156. So that means there is an increase of 56%. Increase of 56%. Total increase is 56%. So option C is the right answer. Question number 14. When the price of an article was reduced by 25%, its sale increased by 60%. What was the net effect on the sale? So first of all, we have the price of an article. So sale and then income. So let us assume the price as 100, sale also as 100. So income will be 100 into 100, that is 10,000. The price of the article was reduced by 25%. So price in the second transaction, it becomes 75. Reduced by 25%, it becomes 75. Sale was increased by 60%. So it becomes 160. So what is the income received? 75 into 160. So 160 into 75. So that is 800. So that is 12,000. So income is 12,000. So what is the increase here? Increase is 2,000. 2,000 is the increase. So 2,000 is how much percentage in 10,000? Since it is percent, multiply by 100. Simplify this. Cancel 3 zeros. 10 tens. So what is remaining? 2 into 10, that is 20%. So there is an increase of 20% on the total sale. So option C is the right answer. Question number 15. From the salary of an officer, 20% is deducted as house rent. 25% of the rest he spends on children's education and 10% of the balance he spends on clothes. After this expenditure, he is left with rupees 2,700. Find his salary in rupees. So let us assume the salary as 100 rupees. Salary, we will assume it as 100. So 20% is deducted as house rent. So let us write it to the left. Salary as 100 and then house rent is 20%. So that is minus 20%. So remaining is 80. So 80 is remaining. So again, from this 80, children's education is spending 25%. So children's education is 25%, minus 25%. So what is the 25% of 80? So 25% of 80 is 20. So if you subtract 20, the remaining is 60. Now from this, he spends 10% of the balance he spends on clothes. So clothes minus 10%. So what is the 10% of 60? 6 is the 10% of 60. So what is remaining after spending on clothes? 60 minus 6 is 54. So after all these expenditure, he is left with rupees 2700. So but according to our assumption, left is 54. 54 is left. This 54 is equivalent to 2700 rupees. So what we have to find out? Salary. How much is 100? If 54 is 2700, 100 is how much? So let us simplify. 2700 divide into 54 parts and multiply with 100 to find out 100 parts. So if you simplify this, 54 5s 270 or 27 2s 27 1s, 2 1s 2 50s. So what is left out? 50 into 100. So that is 5000. So 5000 rupees. This is the income of the person. 5000 rupees is the income of the person. So here also we have assumed the initial salary of the person as 100 and then calculated the final remaining value. So equate that to the corresponding value from the question. Then find out what is 100. So 5000 is the salary of the person. Option A is the right answer. Question number 16. A person loses 60% of his money successively in 3 bets and returns home with rupees 8 only. What was the initial money with him? So initial money, let us assume as 100. 60% he lost in the first bet. So in the first bet he lost 60%. So what is remaining? 40% is remaining. 40 will be remaining. So this is after the first bet. So again in the second bet also he loses 60%. So what is the 60% of 40? 60% of 40. 60% of 40 is 24. So 24 subtract from 40, 16 is remaining. 16. This is after second bet. So now again after the third bet, he loses 60% again. So from 16 calculate 60%. So this is 23s, 25s. 16 3s are 48. 48 by 5. That is equals to 9.6. 16 minus 9.6. 16 minus 9.6 is 6.4. So he is left with 6.4 after all the 3 bets. So, but according to the question, rupees 8 is a left out amount. So 6.4 is equivalent to rupees 8. So initially he had 100. So 100 is equivalent to how much? So let us simplify. 8 by 6.4 into 100. So if you simplify this, you will get 80 by 64 into 100. Multiply both numerator and denominator by 10. Now simplify. 8 tens, 8 eights. 2 fives, 2 fours. 4 25s. So what is remaining? 125. So this is the initial money he had, 125 rupees. So option A is the right answer. Question number 17. A person gave 25% of his income to his elder son, 20% of the remaining to the younger son, and 10% of the balance he donated to a trust. He is left with rupees 13,500. What was his income? So let us assume the income as 100. So let the income be 100. So first expenditure is he donated to the elder son 25%. So 25% of 100 is 25. So the remaining is 75. Second transaction is younger son. He donated 20% to the younger son. So what is 20% of 75? 10% is 7.5. 20% is 7.5 into 2. That is 15. So if you subtract 15, the remaining is 75 minus 15, that is 60. Third transaction is 10% of the balance he donated to a trust. So third transaction is trust. How much? 10%. So 10% of 60 is 6. So if you subtract 6, so the remaining will be 54. So according to our assumption, remaining is 54. So according to the question, the remaining is 13,500 rupees. So 54 is equivalent to 13,500. So we have to find out income, that is 100 is how much. Simplify this. 13,500, make it into 54 parts, multiply by 100. That gives you 100 parts total income. Simplify this. 27 twos, 27 fives. So carry 2 zeros. 2 ones to 250s. 250 into 100 is 25,000 rupees. So this is the income of the person, 25,000 rupees. Option A is the right answer. Question number 18. A reduction of 20% in the price of rice enables a person to buy 8 kg more for rupees 480. What is the reduced price of rice per kg? So we have a price per kg, price per kg, number of bags, that is quantity, and amount spent. So let us assume 100 price per kg and quantity also 100, and total amount is 100 into 100, that is 10,000. Now amount is same in the second case also, 10,000. Price is reduced by 20%, so it becomes 80. 20% reduction is 80. And how many bags are purchased with the reduced price? 10,000 divided by 80. So 24s, 25s, carry 2 zeros. 500 by 4, that is 4 125s. So 125 is the new quantity. So according to the question, the increase number of bags, increase quantity is 25. 125 minus 100, which is equal to 25. So according to the question, this is equivalent to 8 kg. So 25 is equivalent to 8 kg. Now we have to find out what is 125 is equivalent to. 125 is equivalent to what? So that is 8 by 25 into 125. So that is 25 fives. 8 fives 40. So the person is buying 40 bags of rice. So what is the amount he is spending? According to the question, it is 480. He is spending 480 rupees and he is buying 40 bags. Now what is the reduced price? 480 divided by 40. So reduced price is 480 divided by 40. So if you simplify, 0 gets cancelled, 48 by 4 is 12. So 12 rupees is the reduced price per kg of the rice. So the correct answer is option A. Question number 19. When the price of sugar decreases by 20%, a man could buy 4 kg more for rupees 400. What is the original price of sugar per kg? So again, we will write price, quantity, number of kgs, and amount. So we will assume price as 100, quantity as 100, amount is 100 into 100, that is 10,000. So price decreased by 20%. So it becomes 80. Amount is same, and 10,000 by 80 is 125. So the quantity is able to buy more is 25. 125 minus 100, that is 25. So according to the question, this 25 is equivalent to 4 kg. According to the question, 25 is equivalent to 4 kg. So we need to find out original price. So original price we have to find out. That is, we have to, first of all, we should find out what is the original quantity. So 100 kg is equivalent to what? So if you simplify 4 by 25 into 100. So that is 25 ones, 25 fours. So 4 fours, 16. So the person is able to buy 16 kg. 16 kg, the person is, original quantity is 16 kg and the original amount is 400 rupees. And we have to find out what is the original price per kg. So to find out original price per kg, we have to divide 400 with 16. So if you simplify this, 4 hundreds, 4 fours, 4 ones, 4 25s. So that is 25 rupees. 25 rupees is the original price of sugar per kg. Option D is the right answer. Question number 20. Apples are available at 4 for rupees 3 instead of 3 for rupees 3. What is the percentage of reduction in price? So what was the original price? 3 for rupees 3. So that means price per apple, price per each apple, price per each apple is 3 rupees 3 apples. So that is 1 rupee is the price of each apple. So this is in the first case. Next, in the second case, price per apple, price per each apple is 3 rupees 4 apples. So rupees 3 by 4 is the second case. So he is asking what is the percentage of reduction in price. So how much it is reduced? 1 minus 3 by 4. So 1 minus 3 by 4 is equivalent to 1 by 4. So 1 by 4 is a fraction, its equivalent percentage is 25%. So there is a reduction of 25% in the price of the each apple. Option D is the right answer. Question number 21. The price of a certain item is increased by 25%. If a consumer wants to keep his expenditure on the item the same as before, how much percent must he reduce his consumption of that item? So let us write down the titles here, headings: price, consumption, and the amount spent. So let us assume price as 100, consumption also 100, and the amount spent is 100 into 100, 10,000. The price is increased by 25%. So the price increased by 25%, it becomes 125. Expenditure should be same. So how much he is spending? Amount is same. Expenditure is same, 10,000. So what should be the new consumption? So 100 by 125. Sorry, 10,000 by 125. If you simplify, 25 fives, 25 fours, 2 zeros, 5 80s. So 80. So the new consumption is 80. So the consumption should be reduced by 20%. With the same expenditure, you should reduce the consumption by 20%. Option B is the right answer. Question number 22. The price of an edible oil is decreased by 20%. By what percentage must the consumption be increased so that the total expenditure remains the same? So even this question is also similar. So we should write down the titles, price and then consumption and expenditure. So let us assume the price as 100, consumption as 100, expenditure is 100 into 100, 10,000. The price decreases by 20%. So that means it becomes 80. Consumption remains the same, expenditure remains the same, 10,000. So 10,000 by 80. 10,000 by 80. Simplify this, 24s, 25s, carry 2 zeros, 4 125s. So that is 125. 125. So by what percentage must the consumption be increased? So consumption must be increased by 25% plus 25%. Option C is the right answer. Question number 23. A man spends 80% of his income. His income decreased by 10% and he decreased his expenditure by 20%. What is the percentage of increase in his savings? So let us write down the titles. Income, expenditure and savings. So let us assume the income as 100. He is spending 80% of it. So 80. Savings will be 20. 100 minus 80 is 20. Now, his income decreased by 10%. So income decreased by 10%. 10% is 10. If you decrease, it becomes 90. And he decreased his expenditure by 20%. So expenditure is 80, 10% is 8, 20% is 16. So if you subtract 16, you will get 64. 80 minus 16 is 64. So what is the savings? 90 minus 64. That is 26. So what is the percentage of increase in his savings? So how much is savings increased? 6 is increased. So this 6 is how much percent? 6 by 20 into 100. So simplify 25. So that is 30. So there is a 30% increase in the savings. 30% increase. So the correct answer is B. Question number 24. The price of petrol is increased by 25%. By how much percent a car owner should reduce his consumption of the petrol so that the expenditure on petrol would not be increased? See here also, let us write down the titles here. The price, consumption and expenditure. The price is 100, consumption is 100, expenditure is 10,000. The price is increased by 25%. So it becomes 125. So expenditure is same, 10,000. So 10,000 by 125. 10,000 by 125. 25 fives, 25 fours. Carry 2 zeros. 5 80s. So that is 80. So new consumption is 80. So how much is reduced? By how much percent a car owner should reduce his consumption? So consumption is reduced by 20%. 20% consumption is reduced. Option D is the right answer. Question number 25. In an examination, there are 600 boys and 400 girls. 60% of the boys and 50% of the girls pass the examination. What percentage of the total candidates passed the examination? So boys are 600. So out of this 600, 60% passed the examination. 60% passed the examination. So out of 400 girls, 50% passed the examination. Simplify and find out how many boys and girls passed the exam. 6 times. This is 4 times. 6 into 60, 360. 4 into 50 is 200. So total how many boys and girls passed? If you add 560. 560 students passed the examination. So total how many students are there? 600 plus 400, 1000 students are there. 1000 candidates appeared for the exam. So we have to calculate the percentage. 560 by 1000, total number of candidates. Since we are calculating percentage, multiply by 100. Simplify this. Cancel 2 zeros here, 1 zero here. So what is remaining here? 56%. So 56% of the total number of students passed the examination. Option C is the right answer. So these are some problems in percentage topic. So we have solved almost all the questions using the short methods and shortcut methods, so that you can save time in your examination. So in the next session, we will solve some more problems based on the topic of percentage. Thank you.